Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Can We Talk About It with Pastor Brenda. In this episode, we want to talk about the process. Don't die in the process. If the cake could talk, what would it say? I'm going to explain that to you further. A lot of times, people die in the process before they get their healing, before they get their deliverance, before they get their salvation, because the process began to be too much. Process is defined as a series of actions or steps taken in order to achieve a particular outcome. Oftentimes, especially Christians and non-Christians alike, goes through one or more struggles, whether it be physical, spiritual, or emotional. Unforeseen circumstances happens to everyone. Life and living is never without opposition. But it is your response and reaction to what you are going through, which is the process, that will determine your outcome. More often than not, people die in or doing the process. When you're struggling with the situation that you know you need to change, you take an inventory of all the steps you need to take to achieve that expected outcome. Oftentimes, we start out with every intent of going through the process, but somewhere along the way, we get tired, angry, disappointed, lost, or discouraged. Now it seems that the path we started down is filled with obstacles we did not see. So now the journey is getting harder, the road is getting longer, and time is in the rearview mirror. So now you begin to reevaluate the process. You start to recount all the steps you took and how many more moves you have to do to get you to where you need to be. In other words, you are counting the cost of going through the process to get to where you are going. And when you look at the cost, you realize that it's too much. And at that point, you decide to stop. But when you stop, everything attached to your destination stops too. And the process is incomplete. This reminds me of baking a cake. And I'm going to title this parable The Baker and the Cake. A well-renowned baker went shopping for some goods and came across an unevenly baked cake. The baker examined the cake thoroughly and found that the cake was lacking one or more important ingredients. So the baker decided to take the cake back to the bakery and reconstruct it. The cake agreed to the change because it wanted to be perfect. Once in the shop, the baker began gathering all his utensils together as the cake watched curiously from the countertop. The cake asked, "Why do you need so many utensils and so many ingredients?" The baker said, "You are missing some important ingredients. That is why you are falling apart. You're not strong enough to hold yourself together. So I need to add some substance to keep you firm." The cake asked, "How long will it take to make me over again?" The baker said, "Well, I can't say for sure because there is a process I need to follow. Any mistakes on my part could start the process over again." The cake asked, "What is the process?" The baker said, "Well, the first step is to tear you apart, piece by piece." The cake said, "That sounds painful." The baker said, "It can be if you were a real person." Then the baker said, "The next step is to add those missing ingredients, mix them together in a mixing bowl with the blender until your batter is firm. Next, I would need to find the right size bowl because one size does not fit all. The next step is to set the right temperature and set the timer so you're not underbaked or overbaked. The cake began to think about the last time it was in a baker's shop and all the pain it went through to be unevenly done. The cake came out of the oven too soon because the heat was too much. This is a repeat cycle for the cake. The cake looked up at the baker and said, I know I agreed that I wanted to be perfect, and I even agreed to let you reconstruct me. But after listening to all the steps I have to go through, I don't think I can survive the process. The temperature was too hot the first time, and now you're telling me I have to go through the furnace again, and this time you're going to increase the heat. I can't stand the heat in the kitchen, and I got to get out. It is too much for me to bear. The baker looked down at the unraveling cake and said, if you never finish the process, you will never be complete. You will always be unequally yoked compared to your peers. You will not develop the firmness you need to keep you from falling apart. You might even crumble because you refuse to let me add the one ingredient that you need that will keep you from falling apart. And when I think about this parable that the Lord gave me, and it lets me know that some of us is just like that cake. We know we need to be reconstructed, but we just don't want to take the heat. How many times have God tried to make you stronger through trials and tests? How many obstacles did you encounter? When we ask God to make us whole or make us better, we don't know which process He's going to use to get the job done. If you truly want what God has for you, you have got to go through the process. Please do not die in the process before you get your healing, before you get your deliverance, before you get your elevation. Whatever it is that you are asking God for, please complete the process. We hope you have enjoyed this podcast today, and I hope to see you soon. God bless you and have a wonderful, blessed day.